Ever, like, really maxed out a credit card? You know that feeling? Like, how am I ever going to pay this back? Now imagine that feeling, but instead of, like, a couple $1,000, it's uh, $35 trillion. Host speaker.
Yep.
That's the current U.S. national debt. And today we are diving into a wild article that asks, what if the U.S. just kind of said, nope, not paying it back, host speaker? Wild, right?
Yeah, it's a question that makes some economists sweat, for sure, and you can see why.
Yeah.
Technically, the U.S. could just default, but the fallout from that would be, well, it wouldn't be pretty.
Definitely not pretty. But before we get to all the doom and gloom, can we, like, back up and explain the problem? The article lays out this crazy fact. The U.S. government is running a deficit right now of almost $200 trillion. Trillion. With a T-host speaker. It's like we're spending way more than we make every single year. But where's it all going? It's not like there's some giant national credit card we can just put it all on, is there?
Well, actually, kinda, yeah. See, the government borrows money. It's how it works. They issue these things called Treasury bonds. It's basically an IOU, like we promise to pay you back this money with interest. And because historically the U.S. has always paid its debts, these bonds are seen as really safe investments.
So everyone loves these treasury bonds because they're a sure thing.
Pretty much. Everyone from like regular people saving for retirement to big institutions, even foreign governments, they hold these bonds. Think of it this way. You lend the government $100. They promise to pay you back, say, $105 next year. Not bad, right?
Yeah. 5% return, guaranteed. Sign me up. But wait, the article, it said something about the interest on all this debt, that it could hit $2 trillion per year.
Correct.
That's more than we spend on the military. What happens if we just can't pay that interest anymore?
Well, that's when you get into the danger zone.
Core.
Let's say, just hypothetically, the U.S. says, sorry, world, we're out of cash, no more bond payments. All those people holding those bonds, yeah, not going to be happy.
Oh, man, I bet. Like trying to sell a car with a busted engine, no one's buying that.
Exactly. The value of those bonds, it would absolutely tank. Everyone would be trying to sell them off at the same time, causing mass panic in the markets.
Yeah.
And this isn't just, a theory. It's happened before in other countries. And let me tell you, it was bad, like really bad. It took them decades to recover.
So if just not paying the debt is like setting off a financial bomb, what can we even do? The article mentioned the Federal Reserve, right? Can they fix this? So the Fed to the rescue. Can they, like, wave their magic wands and make this whole debt thing disappear? I'm going to guess it's not that easy.
Yeah, no magic wands, unfortunately. But there are a few things the Fed could try. The article mentioned quantitative easing, basically printing more money to buy up that government debt, those treasury bonds.
Hold on. So they just create more money out of thin air. Doesn't that seem kind of, I don't know, like cheating? And there's got to be a downside, right?
Right. Printing more money, it's not a perfect solution. In fact, it can lead to, well, you guessed it, inflation. Remember you talked about hyperinflation? That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, the cup of coffee costs $100 scenario.
Yeah.
Not good. But how does doing this quantitative easing, even if they're trying to help, how does it cause that? It seems like a long way from buying bonds to everything being crazy expensive.
Okay, so imagine if, like, overnight, everyone had twice as much money as they did before. What happens?
Shopping spree?
Exactly. Everyone wants to buy stuff, but there's not suddenly twice as much stuff out there. So what happens?
The price goes up because more people want to buy the same things, like a bidding war.
Exactly. Too much money chasing too few goods. Hello, hyperinflation.
Yeah.
Not a fun time.
Got it. Okay, so what else? The article mentions something called inflationary deleveraging. What in the world is that? Sounds like something you'd learn in a college economics class.
It's actually simpler than it sounds. Basically, you let inflation do the work of shrinking the debt over time. Think of it this way. The actual amount of the debt stays the same, but because inflation makes money worth less over time, you're paying it back with dollars that aren't worth as much as they were when you borrowed them.
So it's like if you took out a loan like 30 years ago and you're still paying it back with today's dollars, those dollars don't go nearly as far as they used to.
Exactly. And it's been done before. After World War II, the U.S. was in a lot of debt, and that's part of how they dealt with it, inflationary deleveraging.
Huh. Sneaky. But I'm guessing there's a downside here too, right? Nothing's ever easy.
You got it. This strategy, it might sound good on paper, but it can have some downsides for everyday people. For example, it can lead to higher interest rates on everything.
Oh, no. So the government's happy because their debt's shrinking, but meanwhile, everyone else is stuck with crazy interest rates on their mortgages, their car loans, everything. That doesn't seem very fair.
It's a trade-off. A tough one, really.
Hmm.
Government's got to balance, trying to fix a debt, but also thinking about how it affects people's everyday lives. There's no simple answer, unfortunately. And that's exactly why understanding these things matters, because at the end of the day, these decisions affect all of us.
So no matter what we do, it's going to hurt. Either a financial meltdown, hyperinflation, or we all end up paying more for everything. Kind of a lose-lose-lose situation, huh?
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, no doubt. And it really highlights, how important it is for governments to be responsible with spending. Got to find a way to stop this massive debt from getting even bigger, right?
Right. Okay, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick review of what we learned. First off, skipping out on the debt sounds tempting, but it would basically crash the entire financial system. Safe to say that's a bad idea.
Yeah, playing with fire, that's for sure.
Okay, and then there's the Fed. They could try printing more money, which sounds kind of sketchy to me, but even then, too much of that, and boom, hyperinflation.
It's a delicate balance. Little bit of printing money might help in the short term, but go too far. And yeah, it could spiral out of control.
And then there's that whole inflationary deleveraging thing, which, okay, maybe not as immediately terrifying as the other options, but still, we're the ones who end up paying for it with higher interest rates on everything.
It's tricky. No easy answers, unfortunately. But hey, at least by understanding all this, how it works, what the risks are, that's the first step. We can start asking our leaders for better solutions and also make smarter decisions with our own money.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right? And on that note, here's something to think about. We've seen that even the solutions to this debt problem, they all come with serious risks. So what does that mean in the long run for the U.S. economy, for the whole world, really? It's a question worth considering, maybe even losing some sleep over. Because the choices we make today, they're going to affect us for a long, long time.
Absolutely. This isn't just about numbers and economic theories. It's about our future, a stable and prosperous future for everyone. And that's something worth fighting for.
Well said. And on that note, a huge thank you to you for sharing your expertise with us today. Always a pleasure.
The pleasure was mine. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive on the U.S. debt crisis. Hope you learned some stuff. We'll see you next time.